Good evening. The time is 9 p.m. U.S. Central Time. This program is coming to you live from Chicago. In the news at this hour, Vice President Mike Pence went on a tour of the Mayo Clinic's coronavirus testing labs earlier today, but he ignored the prestigious Minnesota hospital's rules that all visitors must wear a face mask. The hospital staff sent out the message by tweet, quote, Mayo Clinic had informed VP of the masking policy prior to his arrival today, unquote. Pence stated that he has been and continues to be regularly tested and is negative for the virus, apparently not aware that he could contract it in between tests. The University of Washington's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation model this week increased its projected U.S. coronavirus death toll as a number of states moved to reopen businesses. They also issued the warning that if people start to go back to normal social interaction, the risk of transmission will go up, and then we will go back to the sort of exponential rise that was happening before we put the precautionary measures into effect. The risk is very great for a resurgence from these early reopenings. That, according to IMHE Director Christopher Murray. In political news, Hillary Clinton endorsed Joe Biden during a virtual town hall meeting earlier today, putting the support of the Democratic standard-bearer from 4 years ago behind the current presumptive presidential nominee. Ms. Clinton touted Mr. Biden as a friend and a figure who has been preparing for this moment his entire life, as she lambasted Donald Trump as someone who is ill-prepared to be commander-in-chief. She says he appears to be just playing the role on television. Ms. Clinton remarked, I want to add my voice to the many who have endorsed Mr. Biden to be our president. Meanwhile, the virus statistics from the U.S. Center for Disease Control, currently an estimated 981,246 cases. That's up a bit more than 23,000 over yesterday. The number of estimated deaths, 55,258, and that is up from yesterday's number by approximately 1,300. More news after this.
My grandma always says that everyone counts, and everyone who lives with us is special. Like my aunt, who took me on my first bus ride to the library, or my older cousin, who walked me to my first day of school. Even my mom's friend, who lives with us and brought her newborn baby home from the hospital. In our house, there's a lot of people that care for each other, and each one of them is special. My grandma, my cousin, and the baby who I have so much fun playing with. I love them all, and I'm so happy we all live together.
Every child needs to be counted on the 2020 census because the census makes every moment count by informing funding for schools, roads, healthcare, and more. So be sure all children in your home are counted on the 2020 census. It's your chance to help them for the next 10 years. You can respond online, by phone, or by mail. Shape your future. Start here. Learn more at 2020census.gov.
Paid for by the U.S. Census Bureau.
3 minutes past 9 p.m., CNN reported today that Donald Trump urged the various U.S. states to seriously reconsider reopening schools as part of his push to restart the economy. During the conference call with governors, Trump stated, quote, some of you might start thinking about school openings because a lot of people are wanting to have school openings. It's not a big subject. Young children have done very well in this disaster that we've all been through, so a lot of people are thinking about the school openings, and I think it's something, Mike, they can seriously consider and maybe get going on it. However, most state governors have already decided against resuming the school year. In 43 states, that's in the form of an executive order. In the remaining 7, the governors have left it to the discretion of the individual districts. Bottom line, school reopenings are highly unlikely. On Wall Street today, all 3 major indexes closed in the red, but the losses were nothing major. The Dow Jones Industrials down 32 points at 24,101. The Nasdaq off 122, closing at 8,607. And the S&P 500 finished at 2,863. That's off just 15 points. In the weather forecast, widespread and occasionally severe thunderstorms are either in progress or developing in parts of the Midwest and in the southern plains tonight. Damaging winds with gusts possibly exceeding 75 miles per hour in some cases, as well as a few tornadoes and large hail can be expected. States with the highest risk over the next day or two include Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Toward the end of the week, a heat wave will shift slowly eastward from Southern California and the desert Southwest into the central and southern plains. For Chicagoland, scattered showers overnight and again tomorrow. Overnight low tonight, mid-40s, high tomorrow, mid-50s. Current conditions, National Weather Service radar showing thunderstorms around the Chicagoland area and a severe thunderstorm watch in the south part of the city, along with southern and western suburbs, remains in effect until 11 p.m. Right now, 50 degrees under cloudy skies with scattered showers, 90% humidity, winds out of the south-southwest at 10 miles per hour. Our rain in the east-central part of the city has moved on, but plenty left for everybody else. Again, under mostly cloudy skies, we have 50 degrees.
Live from Chicago, Variety Broadcast presents Radio Classics. Now, here's your host, Tom Edwards.
I'm nothing special. In fact, I'm a bit of a bore. If I tell a joke, you've probably heard it before. But I have a talent, a wonderful thing, 'cause everyone listens when I start to sing. I'm so grateful and proud. All I want is to sing it out loud. So I say thank you for the music, the songs I'm singing. Thanks for all the joy they're bringing. Who can live without it? I ask in all honesty. What would life be without a song or a dance? What are we? So I say thank you for the music, for giving it to me. Mother says I was a dancer before I could walk. She says I began to sing long before I could talk. And I've often wondered, how did it all start? Who found that nothing can capture a heart like a melody can? Well, whoever it was, I'm a fan. So I say thank you for the music, the songs I'm singing. Thanks for all the joy they're bringing. Who can live without it? I ask in all honesty. What would life be without a song or a dance? What are we? So I say thank you for the music, for giving it to me. I've been so lucky. I am the girl with golden hair. I wanna sing it out to everybody. What a joy, what a life, what a chance. Thank you for the music, the songs I'm singing. Thanks for all the joy they're bringing. Who can live without it? I ask in all honesty. What would life be without a song
Well, that's an appropriate number to start off with, and I'll tell you why in just a moment, but we'll say nicely done by the group ABBA. I have never met anybody in my life who dislikes ABBA. Now, occasionally, just occasionally, I bump into somebody and they'll say, I can take them or leave them, but I've never met anybody who says they don't like ABBA. Count me among the fans. Now, the reason I said it was an appropriate number to start off with tonight, we are officially licensed by the American Society of Composers and Performers, which is the royalty collecting agency for musicians and composers. In other words, now we can play all recorded music that happens to be in the ASCAP library, and that's millions of tunes to pick from. So our playlist is now greatly expanded. We don't have to stick with things that are in the public domain. I was kind of getting tired of Three Blind Mice every third tune for the past couple of weeks. Well, anyway, how are you tonight? My name is Tom Edwards, and if you are joining us for the very first time, welcome. And if you're a returning visitor, why, welcome back. Now, it doesn't look like too many people have found their way yet into the YouTube chat room, which is okay. Now, you're welcome to listen in whichever fashion you like. I set it up so that you can listen on my own website as well as on YouTube, just because I thought that might be easier. But we do play trivia games and give away wonderful prizes. So you'll need to be in the YouTube room in order to do that. But like I say, it's up to you. As far as the wonderful prizes, well, we give away things like Illinois Avenue, Park Place and Boardwalk, North Carolina Avenue. Yes, we give away Monopoly money and Monopoly properties. In other words, trivia is just for funsies. And if more people populate the YouTube room, we will be doing that as the night wears on. Let's see, I got a couple of things to share with you. An interesting, kind of disturbing story about cell phones in China. As the pandemic continues in the world, no one ever imagined that some would be questioning whether China is lying about the extent of their COVID-19 impact on their own country. The lying seems to be what that government does best, as if we are anyone to talk these days. But China officially reported 82,000 cases of the coronavirus and around 3,300 deaths. But here's the peculiar thing. They have had a discontinuation, a cancellation of nearly 21 million cell phone subscribers. Now, this is not conclusive, and nobody really knows entirely what it means, because they are so tight-lipped and everything is tightly controlled by the government. The media, newspapers of all kinds, they don't say a word. They don't issue a peep that isn't authorized in advance by the government. So people are left to speculate. And that's what this article is now. I emphasize that it's speculation. Nobody really knows. But according to data published by the two principal mobile telephone carriers, China Mobile Limited and China Unicom, each of them lost approximately 7.8 million subscribers in January, February, and March. And then China Telecom lost 5 million more in the past several weeks. And as much as we are dependent upon cell phones, as pervasive as they are in our country, multiply that by 10 to get an idea of how just omnipresent cell phones are in China. Get a load of this. This was something I learned in researching and reading this today. In China, they have what is called a social score, which is comparable to our credit scores, somewhat comparable. They collect a lot more data, and it's creepy. They keep track of people's debts, crimes they commit, even minor stuff like if they may have lit up a cigarette in a non-smoking area. This all gets collected and put on the Chinese citizens' social score. And that's recorded, that's available in the cell phone. and it affects their ability to buy travel tickets, get internet service, apply to schools. Imagine being turned down by a school because you lit up a cigarette on a subway platform or something like that. But they collect all this information, and it's to the point where you just don't dare go without your cell phone in China, because you've got to be able to prove your identity and show your social score so that you can buy travel tickets and all of this. So moral of the story is you don't go anywhere without your cell phone in China. Like I say, multiply what we do in this country by 10. That's how pervasive and how important their cell phones are to them. So the idea of 21 million people just falling off, it's not the kind of thing that they would cancel lightly. You see where I'm coming from with that? 21 million people dropping off of cell phone subscriptions is very peculiar. And it's got people who are not in China wondering just what the heck is going on. I wonder too. All right, 16 minutes after 9 o'clock, and we'll be right back after this important word from our sponsor.
It certainly is a big bun.
It's a very big bun.
Big fluffy bun.
It's a very big fluffy bun.
Where's the beef?
Some hamburger places give you a lot less beef on a lot of bun.
Where's the beef?
At Wendy's, we serve a hamburger we modestly call a single. And Wendy's single has more beef than the Whopper or Big Mac. At Wendy's, you get more beef and less bun.
Hey, where's the beef? I don't think there's anybody back there.
You want something better. You're Wendy's kind of people.
If you're wondering what her name was, if your memory won't come clear, I can clear it up for you. Her name was Clara Peller. Remember that from the early 80s? Where's the beef? Well, where is Elton John? He's right here, in fact. Place your hands on your speaker. Healing Hands from Elton. Radio Classics from Chicago.
I never dreamed I could cry so hard. That ain't like me. I could fly like a bird. Some days had a place where I could land. I could have sworn we were all locked in. Man, that's what you said. I never knew it could hurt so bad when the power of love is dead. Giving into the nighttime ain't no cure for the pain. You gotta wade into the water. You gotta learn to live again and reach out for the healing hand. Reach out for the healing hand. There's a light where the darkness is. Touch me now and let me see again. Rock me now in your gentle healing. Poison that burned like a fire. All I ever wanted was a reason to drown in your eyes. I never knew sleep so restless, empty arms so cold. That's not the way it's supposed to be. It ain't the spell that I was a soul. But giving into the nighttime ain't no cure for the pain. You gotta wade into the water. You gotta learn to live again and reach out for a healing hand. Reach out for a healing hand. There's a light where the darkness is. Touch me now and let me see again. Rock me now in your gentle healing hand. Giving into the nighttime
That has a great video that goes with it, too. Elton John, Healing Hands, from, early to mid-1990s, if memory serves. One of my, I was going to say one of my favorites. You know what? Narrowing down a favorite Elton John is kind of like narrowing down a favorite I Love Lucy. It's impossible. There are just too many good ones. Well, let's try playing trivia. We'll see who's able to type on the YouTube screen. Give it a shot. And here's how we play. We give away Monopoly money for correct answers, and then the person who saves up the most Monopoly money by the end of the broadcast wins a terrific prize, and tonight it is one of the light blue properties, Connecticut Avenue. And I know you will have nothing but joy and pride and thrills putting that in your real estate portfolio with my compliments, okay? So get your typing finger ready, put your thinking cap on, and see if you can come up with the answer with this for this $20 question, okay? $20 in Monopoly money, and under the category of movies. Which Alfred Hitchcock thriller Whodunit features Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint hanging around together in South Dakota? All right, I'll run the question past you again. Now, you have to be in the YouTube room to actually type. So this is our way of finding out, I guess, who all is in here. And I know there are some people listening on my website because I have a counter that tells me that I can look at. And you're welcome to listen that way. It's certainly up to you. But if you want to participate in the trivia game, you need to actually be in the YouTube room so that you can type on the chat board. Anyway, here's that question once more. $20 in Monopoly money. Which Alfred Hitchcock thriller Whodunit features Cary Grant and Eva Marie Saint hanging around together in South Dakota?
Wild and wind blown, that's how you've grown. Who can cling to a rambling road? Ramble on, ramble on. When you're rambling, days are gone. Who will love you with a love true? When you're rambling, days are gone. Rambling rose, rambling rose. Why I want you, heaven knows. Though I love you with a love true, cling to a rambling rose. One more time, everybody now. Rambling rose, rambling rose. Why I want you, heaven knows. Though I love with a love true, who can cling to a rambling road?
Music by Nat King Cole, Ramblin' Rose. on Radio Classics with your host, Tom Edwards. 26 after 9 p.m. U.S. Central Time, 9:26. And you know the drill. If you're in a different time zone, why, add an hour for Eastern, subtract an hour for Mountain, subtract 2 hours for Central. And if you happen to be on the island of Java, I don't know how many hours to tell you to subtract. You figure it out. Just look at your alarm clock or look at your watch if you really need to know what time it is, okay? Well, how about a nice round of applause for Sherry, our first winner of the night? She answered the trivia question correctly. Yes, the Alfred Hitchcock film. The Alfred Hitchcock film where Eva Marie Saint and Cary Grant were, pun intended, hanging around together in South Dakota in the Black Hills, hanging off of the monument, in fact, the presidential monument. North by Northwest is the title of that Hitchcock film. And that puts Sherry on the board with $20, so congratulations. And we'll have another couple of questions coming your way before the program is out, so stay tuned. Well, let's open the dictionary and learn the word of the day, shall we? If you're an avid crossword puzzle fan like me, you'd like to broaden your vocabulary, so here we go. From Merriam-Webster, the dictionary people at m-w.com, the word today is garnish. Could we have our robot voice pronounce it for us?
Garnish.
See, I said it exactly right, didn't I? Once more, robot.
Garnish.
See, I just like pushing the buttons. All right, the definitions are as follows. To decorate or embellish, like to garnish a dinner plate with parsley or radishes or something pretty like that. To add decorative or savory touches to food or drink. You can also like garnish a Bloody Mary with celery and a lemon wedge, and I've seen people put all kinds of things in Bloody Marys. Pretzel sticks and strips of bacon and everything. To attach by a legal process, as in garnish wages. And you know, interestingly enough, this has always puzzled me. The verb form can also be garnishee, but that can also be a person whose wages have been garnished. So you can be the noun. A garnishee is either the person who's being garnished, or you can also garnishee the wages. It's getting very tongue-twisty in here. Now, those are two very different ideas, so you might wonder how that happened, but it traces back to the early linguistic roots, the Anglo-French word garnir. It, too, had the same double meanings, so they just carried it forward to give notice, warning, or legal summons. So, garnish ye my wages or garnish my drink with an olive, whichever. That's the word of the day, brought to you by Merriam-Webster, the dictionary people, at m-w.com. Here's one of my favorites for doing karaoke, Mr. Billy Joel, The Longest Time.
Once I thought my I hope for. Who knows how much further we'll go on? Maybe I'll be sorry when you're gone. I'll take my chances. I forgot how nice romance is. I haven't been there for the longest time. I had second thoughts at the start. I said to myself, hold on to your heart. Now I know the woman that you are. You're wonderful so far, and it's more than I hoped for. I don't care what consequence it brings. I have been a fool for lesser things. I want you so bad. I think you ought to know that I intend to hold you for the longest time. Whoa, for the longest time. Whoa, for the longest time.
Ah, that's a goodie. Billy Joel, The Longest Time. 9:33 p.m. in the windy city of Chicago. Boy, have we had April showers today. In fact, we have had April showers the entire month of April. It just goes on and on and on. We're never stops raining, morning, noon, and night. I hope it's nice and sunny and warm where you are, but not too warm. Gosh, we have terrible heat waves in California and parts of the Southwest, Arizona, and whatnot, and that is going to continue according to the forecast for the next couple of days. Reopen our state. Not my sentiments, you understand. I'm just quoting some of the slogans from the rabble-rousers. A woman who organized a North Carolina group calling on her state to ease its coronavirus restrictions was unable to attend 2 rallies. I'm sure you can intuit where I'm going with this. She was unable to attend because she tested positive for the virus, according to news reports. Now, don't misunderstand me. I wish her a speedy recovery. I don't want anyone to be sick. I do not wish ill on anyone, regardless of political beliefs, whether they agree or disagree or neutral. I do not wish illness on anyone. But really, seriously, let's hope this encounter, and needless to say, I wish her a speedy recovery. Okay, so now that I got that out of the way, let's also hope that this encounter with the virus, this encounter with karma, taught her a lesson, and that she comes to her senses. You know, these people who are standing outside City Hall and state capitals and whatnot, demanding that government officials open up the economy again, let businesses open up. I do understand where they're coming from. I mean, people are very worried. And, you know, a lot of people have gone from having a job to just zero income. There are a lot of people who live paycheck to paycheck. I'm entirely sympathetic, and I'm not trying to throw rocks at people, but they've got to understand you can't force the customers to go in. So in all likelihood, a lot of them would be going back into an empty shop or an empty store or an empty factory anyway. So there's just no point in demanding that the government ease these restrictions, because all they're going to do is make more people sick. People, my gosh, use your head. All right, let's see. Well, we have just a couple of participants on the board, but I know people like to do trivia even if they aren't actually participating in it. So let's warm up the trivia machine. We'll do another question. All right, that's fun. All right. Wind it up, round she goes. And out comes another question. Looks like we have at least 2 who are participating in the trivia game tonight, but that's okay. All right, this one is a $15 question, just a little bit easier. $15 in Monopoly money. If you are acutely afraid of confined spaces, what is the scientific name for your condition? If you are just extremely afraid of confined spaces, what is the scientific name for your condition. No penalties for wrong answers, so take a guess if you like. If you know or think you know, type it on your keyboard now.
There's just one Schlitz, yeah, yeah, nothing else comes near. When you're out of Schlitz, just ask. You're out of beer.
What makes Schlitz irreplaceable? Taste it. This is the most carefully brewed beer in the world. It takes 1,174 careful steps to create that special taste. Real gusto in the great light beer.
If you like it light with a big taste too, there's only one brew that will do when you're out of Schlitz.
Unthinkable.
You're out of beer. Real gusto in the great light beer Schlitz.
The beer that made Milwaukee famous.
9:37 p.m. in the Windy City. Tom Edwards, your host for Radio Classics. And we don't count spelling errors against you if it is not a proper noun. Remember, we established those rules last week. If it's a proper noun like, Palmolive soap or somebody's name like Franklin Roosevelt, then we do count spelling. So, Sherry, we will give you credit for that correct answer, even though it's slightly misspelled. But yes, if a person is acutely afraid of confined spaces, they are claustrophobic. All right, big round of applause for Sherry. Congratulations, that adds $15 to your total, so you're leading the pack with $35. Music for us now from Mr. C, Wanted poster.
Wanted someone who kissed me and held me closely, then stole my heart. Wanted someone I trusted, who gave no warning we'd ever part. She was last seen hiding out in someone's arms. He knew nothing of the danger in her charms. A jury may find her guilty, but I'd forgive her if I could see a signed confession that she's repented and really wanted no one but me. Wanted someone who kissed me and held me closely, then stole my heart. Wanted someone I trusted, who gave no warning that we'd ever part. She was last seen hiding out in someone's arms. He knew nothing of the danger in her charms. A jury may find her guilty, but I'd forgive her if I could see a signed confession that she's repented and really wanted no one but me.
Brum, brum, Mr. Como, Perry, Mr. C, with music for you on a rainy night in Georgia. Well, a rainy night in Chicago, anyway. I don't really know what is happening in Georgia. My two principal contenders on the trivia game, Sherry and Nicole, are talking about opening up a bed and breakfast, it would seem, once they win the monopoly property of Connecticut Avenue. We'll go to Sherry's Bed and Breakfast on Connecticut Avenue in Atlantic City. We could almost invent a one of those variations on the Monopoly board with all of that. You know how they've done British Monopoly and, I don't know, Italian Monopoly and Worldwide Monopoly, many remakes of the Monopoly board. All right, 9:42 p.m. U.S. Central Time. Let's do this date in history, shall we? All right, take out your notebooks and your pencils and open your history books. On this date in history, in the year 1945, Italian fascist dictator Benito Mussolini was executed. Il Duce, the Italian expression for the leader. Il Duce Mussolini and his mistress Clara Petacci are shot by Italian partisans who captured the couple as they overthrew the government and attempted to flee to Switzerland. No comment from yours truly. In the year 1969, Charles de Gaulle stepped down on this date following the defeat of his proposals for constitutional reform in a national referendum. De Gaulle resigned as president of France. No comment from yours truly. 1978 on this date, the president of Afghanistan, Sardar Mohammad Dawood, is overthrown by a coup. No comment from yours truly. You get the idea. This seems to be a date in history for changes in leadership. And one is reminded of that famous expression, history repeats itself. No comment from yours truly. In the year 1789 on this date, 3 weeks into a journey from Tahiti to the West Indies, the HMS Bounty is seized in a mutiny led by Fletcher Christian, the master's first mate. The master's mate. I didn't know there was such a thing as a master's mate. That's what it says. I guess that's something like a first mate on board a ship. 1967, boxing champion Muhammad Ali, previously known as Cassius Clay, refuses to be inducted into the United States Army, and he was immediately stripped of his heavyweight title, convicted of draft evasion shortly thereafter, sentenced to 5 years in prison, fined $10,000, and banned from boxing for 3 years. And if you know anything about that particular offense of draft dodging, he was way over penalized from what anybody else who had done a comparable thing had received as a penalty. Way over penalized. And that was the main reason that the U.S. Supreme Court overturned his conviction. I think it was only several months that stayed in effect, but then the Supreme Court overturned it. All right, and finally, 1916 on this date, Ferruccio Lamborghini, the founder of the company that bears his name and is known for stylish, high-performance cars, was born in Italy. How do you say happy birthday in Italian? I don't know. Do you? Well, type it on your screen if you know how, and we'll say happy birthday to Mr. Lamborghini.
It has been called the most exciting film of the year and the biggest film in a decade. The people who created it have won 15 Academy Awards. It has been in production for 3 years. It is the story of an ocean liner that capsizes, and it may be the greatest escape adventure of our time. Now, 20th Century Fox presents Irwin Allen's production of The Poseidon Adventure. Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Red Buttons, Carol Lindley, Roddy McDowell, Stella Stevens, and Shelley Winters in The Poseidon Adventure, the greatest escape adventure of our time. Who will survive? The Poseidon Adventure, rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
Gee, that sounds like an awfully good movie. I can't wait to see it.
And now, here's more of Radio Classics with your host, Tom Edwards.
king is dead, long live the king. One minute I held the key. Next the walls were closed on me, and I discovered that my castle stand upon pillars of salt and pillars of sand. I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, once you've gone it was never an honest word. And that was when I ruled the world. It was the wicked and wild wind, blew down the doors to let me in, shattered windows and the sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become, and revolutionaries wait for my head on a silver plate, just a puppet on a lonely string. Oh, who would ever want to be king? I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name, never an honest word. But that was when I ruled the world. Hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name, never an honest word. But that was when I ruled the world.
Ah, that's a goodie. The group is called Coldplay, and I believe the song has two names, and also known as Vida La Vida, also known as I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman, When I Ruled the World. I think that's its alternate title. You get the general idea. I have to say, of newer music, that is absolutely one of the best. There aren't that many new tunes that really tickle my fancy and flip my switch in recent years. I've almost stopped listening to the radio really for, 20 years. I don't listen to the radio unless I'm on it. But that one really flips my switch. I love that tune. Of course, it's not that new now, is it? I guess it goes back 10 years or so. Just looking over some riddles. I made myself some notes earlier this afternoon on what we might do to pass the time. What was I thinking when I wrote this? If two's company and three's a crowd, what are 4 and 5? This is not a trivia question. This is just for funsies to pass the time. If two's company and 3 is a crowd, what are 4 and 5? The answer is 9.
7-Up is all action. No matter what the time or place, let's keep up with that happy pace.
Get real action, 7-Up your thirst away. Get real action, 7-Up your thirst away. Daylight's
Drink
all of it.
with 7-Up.
Let's make a ball of it.
With 7-Up.
Any thirst you can get, 7-Up can quench quickly, completely. It restarts the natural moisture in your mouth. 7-Up is all action.
With 7-Up, you'll quench your thirst. With 7-Up, you'll quench it first. It's real action. 7-Up, 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 your thirst away.
There goes the trivia machine. Put your thinking cap on. Get your typing fingers ready. This one is an audio question. Oh, good. Those are my favorites. All right. Under the category of American TV comedies, this mid-1960s cowboy and Indians comedy was set in a U.S. cavalry fort commanded by Captain Wilton Parmenter. All right. Here's the theme song. Name the show.
Of the Civil War.
Remember her? Side by Side. When I was a little bitty kid, that was one of my favorite songs. I couldn't wait for that to come on the radio. Thank you to Charlotte in Florida, who explained the Italian words to say happy birthday or bon compleanno. Very similar to the Spanish. I think in Spanish it's cumpleaños. She's piggybacking on Scott's account. I understood that message. All right. Look, 9:57 p.m. Where has the time gone? I've had a lot of fun, and I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. Let's see now. We got trivia question to settle up, and then we'll award the grand prize. Sherry answered correctly the audio question.